Last time we asked you what makes this fortune teller's fish curl up. Well, whatever it says on the packet, it's nothing to do with love, passion or jealousy. It's really much more scientific. Heat makes things expand, and some things, like celluloid, expand enormously when they're heated. In fact, 6 times more than most metals. So the warmth of my hand causes the molecules on the underside of the fish to stretch, but the molecules on the top side don't, and so the fish curls over. Now, there isn't much passion in a plate, but if it's warm enough, the fortune teller's fish starts to wriggle and curl just the same. And from one fishy story to another. This programme is all about science in the living world, and Ian's been investigating some other fishermen's tales.
You've heard of a square meal? This must be it. Pork luncheon meat cut into handy bite-sized chunks. A ready meal for... but we'll come to that in a moment. This is not my lunch. These smoked salmon sandwiches are more my line. So what's the story with the luncheon meat, I hear you cry? Here's a hint. With a bit of luck, this salmon isn't the last fish that we'll see today.
Gone fishing.
Ah, you know.
But there's a sign upon your door.
Uh-huh.
Gone fishing.
I'm real gone, man.
You ain't working anymore.
Could be.
There's your hole out in the sun, where you left a row half done.
This is the royalty fishery on the River Avon at Christchurch, and good coarse fishing can be had here, chub and pike and barbel and things like that. Now, the barbel enthusiasts, as I've recently discovered, take their sport very seriously indeed. They wouldn't be caught fishing for anything else. Indeed, they wear a badge to prove that they belong to the Barbel Catchers Club, all of which goes to show that they know their barbels very well. Ray Walton is a barbel enthusiast and as complete an angler as you would wish to find. And it was Ray who first got wind of a distinctly fishy story.
Diary entry, 3rd of September 1986. While unhooking a barbel caught on the royalty, I noticed something unusual and very strange. After examining the mouth of the barbel for hook marks, I found that one of the rear barbules had a growth protruding from the back of it. At first, I didn't think too much about it.
Well, Ray, what do these fishers use the barbules for?
Well, they're actually sense organs which are used for touch or taste.
That first fish you caught had an extra barbule.
Yes, it had 5, but all the textbooks say they should only have 4. And more recently, we're catching them with 6 or even 8.
What are you using for bait?
Pork luncheon meat.
This is what a normal fish looks like, with 4 barbules, 2 on each side. Here's what a 5th barbule looks like, growing from the base of an ordinary one. Well, fish with defects and abnormalities are not particularly unusual, but this was the first time that Ray had seen an extra barbule of this kind. Partly because he was recording details of all his catches as part of a 5-year study for the Barbel Catching Club, he entered all the details into his diary. Now, for the next 3 months, he caught several more barbels, and all with extra barbules. And as time went by, he caught more and more. Well, whether it's the size of the fish that got away or other stories of rod and line, the fisherman's local pub is probably the best place to air them. Now, Fred Crouch, you've been fishing on the royalty for 30 years.
That's right.
And you're one of the people that I know Ray brought his discovery to. Have you seen anything like it before?
No, I could reassure Ray that over this period of time, since 1959, that these have never occurred, these extra bubbles have never occurred, because I closely examined fish that I personally caught, and a lot of fish, and I'd never seen anything like it before.
Ray, how many fish are you catching like this with extra barbules?
Well, originally in 1986 it was 1 in 4, but more recently it's increased to 1 in 3, different stages of development.
Well now, what about a theory, you chaps? And you've been making measurements now for 5 years. What have you come up with?
Well, we've looked at a number of things, water quality, hook damage, genetic change, but after eliminating all them, we've had to come to the conclusion that it must be the diet.
Yeah, the significance of that is that there was a sudden change of diet. If you just bear in mind that the angler's bait makes up 95% of the fish's diet, there was a sudden change from the maggot bait that was used through the 50s and 60s to pork luncheon meat, a cheap brand of pork luncheon meat that every angler began to use following Ray's success with it in catching fish. The fish at the present day, their diet is almost totally made up of pork luncheon meat. And the theory is that there's a possibility that some synthetic growth hormone used to accelerate the pig's growth is finding its way through the luncheon meat, through the tins of luncheon meat, and into the fish, and producing this weird phenomena of these extra barbels growing and an increase in weight of the fish.
So how much pork luncheon meat are they feeding on then?
Well, we estimated in one season alone that between July and October, because it doesn't open on the very first day, there was about 1 tonne of luncheon meat went in to be shared between the population of barbel that are in this fishery.
Ray, do you agree with the luncheon meat theory?
I do agree, because I have been keeping records throughout the years. In 1986-87 there was a dramatic increase in the weight of the fish from the previous years.
And that's when you started feeding them large quantities of pork luncheon meat?
That is right, yeah.
Well, it's a very interesting theory and also rather a worrying one.
Yeah, I think you're right there.
Ray and the other fishermen wouldn't describe themselves as scientists, but they've taken a scientific approach. Observation, measurement and collection of data, followed by thought about a possible theory. Scientists work in just the same way. As yet, there is no official theory. A full scientific experiment will be needed with fish on different diets in order to establish exactly what the cause is. Of course, you don't eat barbel, you always put them back. How would you like one of my salmon sandwiches?
Well, thanks, Ian. But actually, I'm a vegetarian.
Our guest today is one of the world's most successful independent researchers, a true amateur scientist, Miriam Rothschild. How did you first become interested in natural history?
Oh, my father interested me in natural history. I mean, he was a great naturalist himself and a great scientist,